Today I want to share some of my absolute favorite gardening resources, and these are books that are really for the person that's very serious about a garden. Maybe they're going to take that garden and they're going to turn it into a business actually. This is how serious that you might be about this. I'm not saying that you can't be a beginner and buy these books and read these books and learn from these books, but these are definitely, if you're wanting to be really serious, these are some great guides for helping you start your farm or garden off on the right foot. And I'll also discuss some online resources that you can use as well, but these are my absolute go-tos for different types of gardens. So let's get into it. If you're new here, my name is Taylor Sievers. I'm an author, and I also like to share on my social media and YouTube here all about my writing journey and share book recommendations as well. So as you can probably tell, I'm really interested in gardening. We have a farm. You can probably hear the chickens in the background right now. We raise cattle. We used to grow flowers commercially, and now we're kind of taking a step back from that. But we also garden and all of that. So thanks for being here, and let's get started. So most of you, if you're a gardener, you're likely going to be growing vegetables. That's probably going to be your main thing. Obviously, we want to grow things that we can eat, and that's really important, right? Apologies for my dog over here that's barking at something. I think I would be remiss if I didn't share a book written by a person that has really influenced the whole market gardening space, and that is Eliot Coleman. So here I have the book 4-Season Harvest, but he has some other really great books as well. This book has been highly valuable to me, and I actually, because of my background in flower farming, I do not have a lot of books that are more vegetable focused. This is really the first guide that I purchased that was more along the lines of growing vegetables. And I've always looked at gardening through the lens of growing flowers and not necessarily growing food, because I was able to take the things that I learned from starting flower seeds and growing flowers and translate that into the vegetable garden. And also the vegetable garden, I just feel like vegetables germinate so much easier. They're just so much easier to just throw seed out and let it grow for the most part. But this book has been great because it helps you kind of figure out how to extend your harvest. This is the 4-season harvest, so we're looking throughout the entire year how we can rotate our crops, what crops we can have all year round to extend our season, how to extend our season. And he's got wonderful charts in here and drawings. So for example, in table 16 in the back, he has all of these planting dates for an extended harvest, which is seriously invaluable. You don't have to go through the book and record everything. You certainly can, but like he already has summarized it here for you. So this is a great book if you are interested in vegetable gardening, especially if you're going to be a market gardener. This is a great resource. I highly, highly recommend this book. It has been honestly really eye-opening, and I've been a gardener for quite some time. So there's just some vegetables that I didn't even realize we could be growing in the colder months. And he gives you little tips and tricks along the way as far as rotation and what to think about whenever you're planning your garden out. So it's really heavy on the helping you plan your garden out properly. The next book I'm going to share is The Flower Farmer by Lynn. The subtitle is An Organic Grower's Guide to Raising and Selling Cut Flowers. So if you want to be a flower gardener, this I feel like should be the staple in everyone's home. I purchased this book after listening to a webinar of hers that was online. I believe it was on YouTube actually. It's a very detailed webinar. So I went ahead and purchased her book, and it really helped give me the foundation to get started growing cut flowers for a living. But if you just want a casual backyard cut flower garden, I still think this would be really valuable because she just covers everything. She was a flower farmer mostly, I think, in the late 90s. So some of the information, like the recommended varieties, may be a little bit out of date now, but it's not to say that you can't find that information out very quickly. And some of the varieties are tried and true. You should go ahead and grow them anyways, because there's a reason why they were put in this book, right? What's great about this book too is that she has lots of plant profile information. She has information about crop rotation. She just has so many tips and tricks about building your flower business itself. I mean, it's an all-encompassing guide for starting, growing, selling, all of that. So I really appreciate this book. I know she put a lot of hard work into it, and even though it may be a little bit outdated just because her experience was in a few decades prior, it's still super invaluable, and I would highly recommend getting a copy of this book. The next book I want to share is called Cool Flowers by Lisa Mason Ziegler. This is a great book. This is also geared towards flower farming, but I think that combined with The Flower Farmer with Lynn Byczynski and this book, I think you just have a really great foundation to start a flower business, a flower farming business. Because this book really goes into the flowers that need to be started probably in the fall or even in the summer, but you can overwinter them and they'll be blooming early in the spring. And that is like very key for flower farmers, because one of our biggest holidays is Mother's Day, and we have to have those flowers for Mother's Day, and this book will really help you with that, or at least get you flowers around that time period. Maybe even a little after, but it really helps you understand how to work with the plants and their natural qualities in order to extend the growing season or manipulate the growing season for your benefit. And it's not a very big book. It's a nice little guide and very detailed. Each plant profile page has lots of details on it, and it really helps you set yourself up for success. There's recommended varieties, there's when you should start the seeds, and how tall they're gonna get. It's really a fantastic guide. She has a lot of great books as well, but she is another one, Lisa Mason Ziegler. She is definitely a great author to follow. I know she actually released a new book called, I think it's called the Cut Flower Handbook, and I have not read that one, so it's not on my list today, but that would be another one probably that would be excellent to pick up as well. That's it for flower farming. Next up is if you want to be an herb grower. This book is absolutely phenomenal. The Organic Medicinal Herb Farmer by Jeff and Melanie Carpenter. This is, look at this guide. It's a very large book. They had to have put an enormous amount of work into this book, and I don't think there are any other guides, to my knowledge, about herb growing on the market besides this book. I think that could be corroborated from other herbalists in the community. This book has so much information in it and is such a gift to the herbal community, to the world, to be honest. So I think this book is worth every penny. Not only does it have information on how to grow each type of herb, and these are mostly the most popular herbs for sale. There are tons of other herbs that could be grown, but these are mostly the ones that you'll see in commercial herb production are in here, and there's a lot of them too. But this book also has kind of tips and tricks on building your herbal business. When is it that they talk a little bit about how they hired a business consultant, and talking about when is it actually profitable to kind of abandon a bed of some sort of herb that has a lot of weeds in it, and when is it, sometimes you have to learn that art of moving on, what's worth your time, and they really go into that a lot. They also talk about, bringing value-added products into your business. How can you add value to your products in a certain way to sell them? Just like The Flower Farmer by Lynn Byczynski, this is just an all-encompassing guide for starting your own herbal farm, your herb farm. This is a great, fantastic guide. They also talk about how to set up your processing facilities. So if you are an herb farmer, you're gonna have to learn how to process those herbs. A lot of times we dry them. Sometimes herbs need to be sold fresh versus dried. They'll tell you what is more optimal. They even have suggested prices per pound in this book, to be honest, but they have a whole plan for how you can build drying racks or a drying shed to basically dehydrate your product and store it well. So this is, I can't say enough good things about it. I'm not gonna ramble on anymore. This is definitely one you wanna get if you are at all interested in herbs. One thing I do want to add is the thing with herb farming is a lot of herbs are actually perennials, so they can be a little bit harder to start from seed. Again, vegetables seem to be one of those things where you can just throw them out and they pop up like pumpkins, or I have tons of volunteer tomatoes that come up every year. But herbs can be a little bit more finicky once you get them established. A lot of them are perennial and they'll just take off, but starting them from seed or sourcing them from somewhere, it might take a little bit for them to take off. So sometimes having a really good guide for how to grow the plants is very important. And so I value this. I value this book so much. Also helps you with figuring out what parts of the plant to harvest too. You know, in the herbalism space, we have a lot of new people that are joining that sphere, and I feel like sometimes there's some misinformation about the best part of the plant to harvest, and you can trust them. They've had experience, they are well connected to the herbal community, and so I feel like their advice is definitely of high value. It's not to say that other herbalists might do things differently, but if you're just starting out and you're not really sure, I think this is the way to go. This guide is. So of popular types of gardening, we've got vegetable gardening, we've got flower gardening, and now we've done herbs. I want to go into rose gardening. So there are so many books that have been written on roses. It is not even funny. So many books. And I would encourage you to go on places like thrift books or scour your own used bookstores, and you'll find some great treasures on them, because there has been so many words written about the queen of flowers, the rose. I have barely even tapped into that well of information. But I will say that there has been some books that have really stood out to me. So the two books that I'm going to share here are people that I have either read up on or I have followed, and I know that they have a lot of experience. Sorry, there's an airplane. The first one I'm going to share, this one is probably out of print. I haven't checked if there's any new copies, but I did get my copy from thriftbooks.com. And I'm sure you might be able to find it if you have some really great used bookstores. But this one is called The Organic Rose Garden by Liz Druitt. So this one is an older book. The copyright date is 1996, so it is much older than the next one I'm going to share. I felt like it was all-encompassing. I liked that it was very focused on organic, because I do feel like a lot of us are leaning more towards not having to. A lot of us want to have a rose garden where we're not spraying all the time, and I felt like she had some great little nuggets of wisdom of how to mitigate some of these pests, because we might end up having to deal with fungus and pests and all of the things, right? I thought she did a great job of she just did a great job summarizing all of that. I also liked there were some plant profiles of some roses, and these were roses that are tried and true roses that have been around for quite a while. She had some good information about the roses, and so if you're just getting started in rose gardening, this would be a really great book to pick up somewhere. Again, it's probably out of print, but I definitely think it's worth searching for. I believe the author, Liz, I believe she has passed on since this book has been shared, but from what I remember, she ran a public rose garden, so she was very heavily involved in the maintenance of that. So obviously she's gonna have some experience in there as well. And I just read a couple other tidbits about her, and I feel confident that she was a very knowledgeable person. This was a great book. That's all I'm gonna say on that. But the next rose gardening book that I want to share is Growing Wonder by Felicia Alvarez, and I like this book because Felicia is very straight to the point. She's very direct. What I like about Felicia's book is that it is very applicable to the modern day, to today, because she is a farmer in California. She has a family orchard that she helps run, and then she started this whole cut rose side of her business several years back, and so she sells potted roses and bare root roses, and then she also sells some cut flower roses as well in California. So she is really speaking from her personal experience growing. She grows a lot of roses, right? She sees a lot of roses, and we don't really have a lot of people today that really have a lot of cut rose production experience, because a lot of our roses are being grown outside of the US and being shipped in. So she actually has that firsthand experience of growing roses as cut flowers. So she knows which varieties are going to work really, really well for cut flowers and which may not work as well for cut flowers. So that's what I really like about this book. I like that, Liz Druitt's book is great, but she's definitely more on the side of shrub roses and growing them in the landscape, which is totally fine. Whereas I feel like Felicia here she has a little bit more knowledge about yes, growing them in the landscape, but then also if you want that cut flower side of things as well. So maybe you want to have a cut rose farm, or you want to grow, maybe you are a flower farmer and you want to supplement more with cut roses. You know, this would be a really great book for you. And then she also goes into color as well. It's just a really beautiful book. For example, like just the pictures themselves are really beautiful, and she has a section in the back here. Here it is. She's got some different, like she goes through the roses in the different shades that they are. So you can kind of really lay eyes on some popular rose varieties that do very well, and the shades of colors that they may have, and really kind of see what they look like next to each other as well. She has beautiful, beautiful photography. It's very practical. She, again, has a lot of experience. I will say that she does grow in California, so those of us here in the Midwest, we just kind of have a little bit of a different growing situation. And later on, I'll do a video on some other rose books that I really love. Some older rose books maybe that might be more applicable to some of our climate experiences, but overall, as an overall guide for how to grow good roses, this is a great book. Growing Wonder by Felicia Alvarez. And then the last book that I'm going to share is actually not really a growing guide, but because this video has been all about the themes of growing, maybe not commercially, but like really being serious about a garden. These books are being recommended for someone that is very serious about starting a garden and very serious about growing a garden well. I'm not saying in your first shot that you're going to get it all right or that you have to have all of this knowledge or anything. In fact, I actually wrote a gardening book not that long ago called You Don't Have a Black Thumb. And so if you're interested, I'll put a link down in the description. It's just a short intro to gardening book. And I definitely recommend that if you are new to gardening, you might want to pick up that book, because it is a little bit goes into the mindset of, a lot of people come to me and they say that, you know, they kill everything, they have a black thumb, they wish they could grow flowers and plants and all of that. And you just have to get in the right mindset. And that's what that whole book is about. And it gives you some basic definitions for different botanical terminology that you might come across when you're growing, so you don't feel so out of the loop when you pick up some of these other guides that are a little bit more detailed maybe. But these are all great books in themselves as well. So again, I'll put a link down in the description for my little short intro to gardening book. It's nothing fancy by any means, but it's a fun little read and a little comical at times. But this last book I wanted to share, because if you are a little bit more serious about growing, maybe you have already read some of these books and you do have a nice little garden going on or a little farm in your backyard, but you want to get really serious about marketing. This book was absolutely phenomenal. The Farm to Market Handbook, How to Create a Profitable Business from Your Small Farm. This is wonderful because it really goes into some ideas around marketing. Like, for example, if you're setting up at a farmer's market, how should you set up your booth to make it really appealing? And then there's some first-hand accounts of other small farms. They're not just, there's a flower farm in here, there's, you know, people that grow and sell meat, there's people that sell vegetables. It's just anybody that wants to sell their products direct to consumer. This book is really phenomenal, and I cannot recommend it enough. It's been a while since I've read it, but I think if you're just starting out with your farm, I think that this is a very great guide to read. I just think that this should be on your bookshelf along with all of your growing guides. So that was something when I started my flower farm that I didn't really realize, is that yes, you need to learn how to grow, but you also need to know how to sell, and you need to know how to figure out where your product lands in the market. And maybe you shouldn't be growing that product at all. Maybe you should have done a little bit more market research in your area. So I think this is invaluable. Definitely worth a read. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got some really great book recommendations. I will add one more thing. If you are new to growing, or if you just kind of want specific guides on certain crops, the Johnny Selected Seeds Growers Library is absolutely phenomenal. You can go online, you can print out the sheets and just keep them in a binder or something like that. They are very, very useful, very helpful. I love Johnny's. Their seeds are wonderful as well. And then as far as the flower farming side, I know Floret Flower Farm, which she has a wonderful book. I did not share it here, but she does have a wonderful book called The Cut Flower Garden. But she is working on, I think it's pretty much complete. She has a grower's library there specifically for flowers, mostly, because she is a flower farm and very well known. She has a TV show on the Magnolia Network and produces documentaries on YouTube. So she's very well known in the flower sphere. But if you, for some reason, haven't ran across her, Erin Benzicane, then she's definitely another one to look at if you're really interested in growing flowers. And as I mentioned earlier, Eliot Coleman has some other books out as well on the market gardening. And I know there's other people in that space. Like I said, I haven't really read as many vegetable growing books because I got all my foundational reading and knowledge from more of the flower farm side of things, and that's been able to really translate into the vegetable side of things as well. So I want to know, are there any books that I missed or any books that have really shaped you in your farming or gardening journey? Some just all-encompassing guides or just absolutely phenomenal resources. I want to know. Please share them in the comments. Please let other people know about them. This is great. I want to have this back and forth with people, learn from each other, and you never know what you might stumble across one day just from a recommendation. So please share those in the comments below and let me know if you got any other book recommendations for me. I would love to hear about them. And if you've made it this far, I would appreciate if you'd either like this video or hit subscribe, share it with a friend, whatever. Anything to push this video out there, I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys. Happy gardening.